Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Muna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Natavar Radha Natavar Hare Natavar Radha Natavar Radhe Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Balaram Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Balaram Jaya Subhadra Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Yes, welcome all of you. Thank you all so much for joining ISKCON's Sunday Feast program. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to speak glories of a wonderful devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord, Srila Bhishmadev. And grateful for the opportunity, for giving this opportunity to me by ISKCON Temple Management, ISKCON Columbus Management. So thank you once again, Srila Chaitanya Prabhu, for this opportunity. So this year was a special year for us. Besides COVID, we had Purushottama month, glorious Purushottama month for it was for 30 days. It was a wonderful opportunity for all the devotees to engage in the devotional service, to get additional mercy, extra mercy in this month, in this year. And also, 2 weeks followed by Purushottama month. So we had glorious Kartik, the most auspicious month. Kartik month we had, so which ended last Sunday, a week ago it ended. And last 5 days of Kartik month is called Bhishma Panchaka. That was very, the most auspicious out of the entire Kartik, especially the last 5 days were even more auspicious for one to execute devotional service and render any service to Lord Krishna and Radharani in that month. So the 5 days, the last 5 days of Kartik or Bhishma Panchaka is also, those are the last 5 days of Srila Bhishmadev. And during his last days, on the bed of arrows. Bhishmadev gave a wonderful philosophy. He explained several things to Yudhishthir Maharaj and Pandavas and whoever was assembled there. So it's a very good opportunity to speak the glories of pure devotees and the Mahajans. So Prabhu, do I have access to share my screen? I have, yeah.
Yes, Prabhu, you are already co-host. Prabhu, your voice is little low. I don't know whether it's for me or everybody.
Let me see what I can do. 1 second. Let me see if there is anything I can do on that. Yeah, my speakers are 100%, and I'm very close to.
Yeah, I think now it's a little better, bro.
Better? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me share my screen, and then we will go into the presentation. Okay. Okay. Can everybody see my screen here? Yeah. Okay. So I'm assuming you are all able to see my screen. Okay. So we'll take a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita before going into the discussion. So this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, 17th chapter, 186 verse. And originally this was from Mahabharata, Vanaparva. Tarko Pratishta Srutayo Vibhinna Nasa Vrishirasya Matam na Bhinnam Dharmasya Tattvam Nihitam Guhayam Mahajano Yena Gata Sapanta. Translation: dry arguments are inconclusive. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. The solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajanas advocate. I will read the translation again. Dry arguments are inconclusive. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. The solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajanas advocate. So this is one of the verses Lord Chaitanya emphasized this particular sloka, and which has ultimate importance. Before going into the presentation, I would like to offer my humble respects to the spiritual master. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances and respects to my spiritual master. Okay. So as this verse says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, of course, it quoted from Mahabharata. Yudhishthira Maharaj spoke this verse. What it says is that one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and also attain perfection, simply by charitable contributions, by performing a lot of austerity, learning a lot of slokas, and having a lot of debates and discussions. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as this verse emphasizes, this can be simply understood by following the great personalities or Mahajanas, great devotees who are self-realized persons. Only by following the footsteps of the self-realized persons and great devotees, one can ultimately achieve the perfection in life. And Bhishmadev is one of the 12 Mahajans that are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. These 12 Mahajans are mentioned by Yamaraj in the 6th canto Ajamila pastime. Yamaraj mentions this, these 12 Mahajans. And who are those 12 Mahajans? Lord Brahma, Narada, Lord Shiva, 4 Kumaras, Kapila, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlada, Janaka, Bhishma, Bali, Shuka, and Yamaraj. So these are the 12 Mahajans that are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. It does not mean that only there are 12 Mahajans in the entire universe, entire creation. There are many, many thousands of Mahajans, but these are the 12 Mahajans that are referenced in Srimad Bhagavatam by Yamaraj. So as we can see, Bhishmadev is one of the Mahajans, and Bhishmadev is one of the central characters of the Mahabharata. And especially, whoever is coming from the Indian background, people may have seen Mahabharata serial, that came like 20 years ago, or I think, yeah, about 20 years ago. Every Sunday, people used to sit in front of the TV. Morning 9 o'clock, all the streets used to be like completely empty. Everybody used to stick in front of the TVs and watch Mahabharata, right? So, and by the mercy of that particular serial, at least people came to know about two verses. Two popular verses, Dharma Samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, that was one verse, and Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So a couple of verses became very, very popular. People came to know about Mahabharata and several characters in Mahabharata. So Bhishmadev was one of the central main characters of Mahabharata, and he was the most powerful, unconquerable warrior in the entire world. Entire world. He was very, very powerful warrior. And he was a disciple of Parshuram himself. So, and he was son of Shantanu and Ganga Devi. In the next slide, we are going to discuss the life of Bhishmadev, his appearance that comes in the next slide. And also, Bhishmadev was known as Bhishma Pitamaha. So he was a grandfather of Pandavas and Kauravas. And many people may not know another interesting fact about Bhishmadev is that he was the author of Vishnu Sahasranama. So in the last days, while he was on the bed of arrows, he recited Vishnu Sahasranama, 1,000 names of Vishnu. So people recite, irrespective of which philosophy they follow, devotees recite Vishnu Sahasranama. So very, very popular. So that is briefly about Bhishmadev. So we will go on to see, Bhishmadev's life and his appearance. Once upon a time, long time ago, Lord Brahma was performing a yajna. So Lord Brahma was performing a yajna in Brahmaloka, and different great personalities were invited to attend that yajna. And Ganga Devi was one of the personalities who was present in that yajna. And King Shantanu, I don't remember his previous name, previous life's name, but he was also present in that assembly. While the yajna was going on, the King Shantanu and Ganges, Ganga Devi, they got attracted to each other. So they were looking at each other because of the attraction. And Lord Brahma, we all know he has 4 heads. He can observe what is going on around him. All the sides, he knows what is happening. And he sees, he notices that Shantanu in his previous life and Ganga Devi, they are getting attracted and they were not concentrating on the yajna. And then Brahmadev, Lord Brahma, curses both of them to appear in the earth planet. He says, this bodily attraction and all these things are not for in this place, and that too is a sacred yajna is going on, and you both are attracted to each other during this time. And then he says, he curses both of them to appear on the earth. So in the next life, that's how Shantanu comes into this earthly planet. He is a king, and then Shantanu, one day while he goes out for hunting, he sees a beautiful lady, Ganga Devi, and then he gets attracted to her. And then he goes and approaches Ganga Devi, so to marry her for marriage. He approaches her to marry him. And then Ganga Devi puts two main conditions. Okay, I will marry you, but there are 2 conditions I have. And Shantanu was so attracted by Ganga Devi, he just says, yeah, whatever is the condition, I'm ready to accept. I'm willing to accept your conditions. And then so Ganga Devi says, whatever I am going to do, after our marriage, whatever I do, you should not object. You should not question me why I am doing it. That's number one condition. And the number two condition, you should not speak harsh words with me. You should never speak harsh words. Whatever I do, you should not speak harsh words with me. So King Shantanu, he says, yeah, that's fine with me. And he accepts the proposal of Ganga Devi, and then they get married. So soon after, eventually, first child was born. And as soon as the first child was born, Ganga Devi takes the child, and she drowns the small child into the baby into the Ganges River. So then, of course, when the first child was born, as like any father, King Shantanu was completely jubilant, extremely happy, that he became father and he has a child. But then, as soon as the child was born, to his surprise and dismay, Ganga Devi took the small baby and newborn baby and drowned the baby in the Ganges. So, but because of the condition, he could not say anything. He just kept quiet. And then the second baby was born, and same thing happened again. Ganga Devi took the second baby into the river. She drowned the kid. And then the third, and every time Shantanu was at least expecting, hoping that she wouldn't do that. Ganga Devi would not do this. At least the next baby, she will save the next baby. That was he was hoping. And it was very, very miserable for Shantanu to see this act of Ganga Devi, drowning the small infants in the river, drowning them in the river. So like that, 7 children were born, and all these 7 children were drowned into the water or Ganges immediately after their appearance or after their birth. So then when the eighth child was born, then when she was about to take the eighth child, um, to drown the eighth child, then King Shantanu could not tolerate that anymore. He could not see this happening anymore, because last 7 children he was able to somehow or other he could tolerate, and he was hoping she would stop it. But then when the eighth child was born, Shantanu could not handle this anymore. He could not tolerate this anymore, and he immediately stopped Ganga Devi and started questioning her. How can you do this? Are you a mother? And he started shouting at her, and he gets really, really angry, um, and he uses harsh words against Ganga Devi. How a mother could do this to her own children? Um, and then when she questions her, why are you doing this? Then Ganga Devi explains the history behind this 8 children, and she narrates a pastime, saying that there were 8 Vasus. Vasus are one particular lineage in the demigods. So there are 8 Vasus, and once these 8 Vasus, they wanted to steal Kamadhenu, wish-fulfilling cow from Vasishtha Muni. And out of these 8 Vasus, everybody wanted to have that Kamadhenu, but the 8th Vasu, the last one out of these 8 Vasus, he plots the entire thing, how to steal the cow. And he was the one, who did the entire planning for this stealing the cow from Vasishtha Muni's ashram. And also, he and his wife, basically, the last Vasu, the 8th Vasu, and his wife, because the wife had the desire, desire to have the cow, Kamadhenu cow. And then they have the plan, how to steal the cow. And then finally, the 8 Vasus come and try to steal the cow. That's when Parashar Muni was in deep meditation at the time. But when they were about to steal the cow, then not Parashar Muni, Vasishtha Muni. So Vasishtha Muni opened his eyes. Then he realizes what's going on, and he understands that the 8th Vasu is the main reason for stealing the cow. Because all the 8 Vasus are involved with stealing the cow. He curses them to appear in the earth. And he, of course, since the last Vasu was the main culprit behind this, he says that the last Vasu will stay on the earth planet for a longer duration, and he has to go through suffering. That is the curse Bhishmadev gives. Vasishtha Muni gives to these 8 Vasus. And when they beg for forgiveness, that's when Vasishtha Muni says, because you 7 are only assisting the last one, as soon as you are born, immediately you will be delivered. You will come back here, but you will go back to heavenly planets. But the 8th one, since he was the one who planned this whole thing, he will stay on the earthly planet for a long duration, and also he will go through a lot of suffering, and he will not have any association of women in that life. So that's how he curses the 8 Vasus. That's what Ganga Devi explains, narrates this to um, King Shantanu, and says, even if you hadn't stopped, anyway, I wouldn't have drowned this kid, because based on the curse, this last child is supposed to live longer. I was not planning to put this child in the water anyway. But since you stopped me, since you questioned my acts, and you also spoke harsh words, so I have to leave. So that's how Ganga Devi leaves. But then before leaving, King Shantanu also says that, why don't you take this small child? And his name at the time was Devavrat. Devavrat was the name of the child. Why don't you take Devavrat and give him nice education in the heavenly planets? So Ganga Devi takes Devavrat to heavenly planets, where he gets all kinds of education. Brihaspati himself gives the education to him, and he learns all the martial arts and archery, all these things from Parshuram himself. So he learns all different kinds of education. He gets all kinds of different education from the heavenly planet. And his guru was Parshuram for the archery and martial arts. So Parshuram gives him all the knowledge to Devavrat. So that's what happened. And meanwhile, Ganga Devi leaves that earth, and then King Shantanu was alone. And then, and King Shantanu gets attracted to Satyavati once while he was going to the hunting, and then he sees Satyavati, and he gets attracted to Satyavati. And then Shantanu asks Satyavati for marriage. He expresses his desire that, I wanted to marry Satyavati. And Satyavati says, I don't have any issue. You are a wonderful king, great king. I don't have any issue marrying you. But however, I have only one condition. You have to take permission from my father. That's the only condition I have. So then Shantanu goes and approaches Satyavati's father. And Satyavati's father says, yeah, that I have no issue with this. But, the children who are born to Satyavati should rule the kingdom, Kuru dynasty. So that's my condition. And King Shantanu was thinking, how is this possible? I already have a son. Bhishma is my son. He's very, very capable. How can I, give this promise? How can I do this to Bhishma? And he feels very sad. And then he comes back because he did not want to take that vow. He did not want to promise that to Satyavati's father. But then, once he meets Bhishma during this time, after some time, he meets Bhishma also. And then, they meet, and Bhishma is with King Shantanu. And then Bhishma asks, at the time, his name was Devavrat. Devavrat asks Shantanu, why, father, why are you, my dear father, why are you so sad? You don't seem to be happy. Something is bothering you. Please tell me, what can we do? How can we do it? Then King Shantanu explains what happened with Satyavati and father. Then Devavrat goes to Satyavati's father, and he again begs, he asks Satyavati's father to give Satyavati to King Shantanu. And then Satyavati's father puts the same condition, whoever is born to Satyavati should rule the kingdom. And as long as you are there, how can they become kings? Then Bhishmadev takes a vow at the time that I'm not going to. I am not going to marry. I will maintain the celibacy, and also I will not rule the kingdom. Throughout my life, I will maintain the celibacy, and I will not marry anyone. And I take a vow that whoever is born to Satyavati, they will rule the kingdom. Actually, initially that was the vow. Bhishmadev takes a vow. Then actually he says that I will not rule the kingdom. Then Satyavati's father says, what about if you get married and your kids will become, eventually they will rule the kingdom. That's when Bhishmadev says, I am not going to marry her. I will maintain the celibacy so that I will not have any children, and the children of Satyavati will um, rule the Kuru dynasty. So, and also Bhishmadev takes another vow at the time. He says that, and whoever is ruling the kingdom, Kuru dynasty, I will be loyal to them and I will protect the Kuru dynasty. That's another vow. So basically, he takes 3 vows during that time. And then Satyavati's father becomes very, very happy because of this, vows by Devavrat. That's when the Devavrat became Bhishma. All the demigods, from the universe, they showered the flowers on Devavrat, because the vow that he took, it is not an easy vow. It's not an easy vow, especially maintaining celibacy. It's not an easy thing during those days. Of course, even now it's an extremely difficult vow he took. We'll talk about the vows in the next slide, about these 3 vows. So anyway, so that's when everybody said Bhishana, Bhishana, Bhishana. Everybody glorified Devavrat for this remarkable vows that he took, and that's how he became Bhishma. He came to known as Bhishma from that point onwards. So then Shantanu married Satyavati, and then they got 2 children. So Satyavati got two children. One is Chitrangada, and the second one is Vichitravirya. So Chitrangada died even before the marriage, in a fighting with a Gandharva name with the same name, Chitrangada. There was a Gandharva with the same name as Chitrangada. They had a fight, and then Chitrangada died in that fight. So he died even before the marriage. And then Vichitravirya. So in order to and then Vichitravirya was, he was not very competent. He was not very strong. He was not very powerful. But then, based on the vow taken by Bhishma, Vichitravirya was the king at the time. So he made him the king. And then, so then it's a time for marriage of Vichitravirya. Then Bhishma wanted to arrange for the marriage of Vichitravirya. Then he goes and he brings 3 queens, 3 daughters of, I think it's Matsya dynasty, if I remember right. So Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika. So he puts them on the chariot.
Kingdom of Kashi.
Kasi, sorry, yeah, thank you, Kasi, yes, yeah. So Kasi Raj, yeah. So he brings these 3 daughters of Kasi Raj, Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika. So he brings them in a chariot, and and whoever he says that whoever wants to stop him, they could stop. That was the way, one of the ways of getting married in those days. But then nobody could defeat Bhishma. Bhishma was an unconquerable, very, very powerful warrior. So nobody could defeat Bhishma during the time. So when he brought those 3 daughters of Kashiraj, the Amba then speaks up. Amba says that I cannot marry anyone because I gave my heart to Shalva. I already I am in love with Shalva, so I cannot marry anyone else. So then Bhishma says, okay, since you already gave your heart to Shalva, I can't take you. I will not take you. So you can go back. You can go back to Shalva. So then he releases her and she goes back to Shalva. And then Shalva says, since already somebody else touched you, Bhishma, first of all, he defeated me and he touched you. So I cannot accept you anymore. So, and he says, you better go back to Bhishma. Then Bhishma, she comes back, Amba comes back and asks Bhishma, this is what happened. Shalva is not able to accept me because of this. You have to marry me. Then Bhishma says, no, I cannot do this. I took a vow to be celibate entire my life and I cannot marry you. Then she doesn't know what to do. Amba doesn't know what to do. So, but anyway, Amba leaves that place with so much hatred and anger on Bhishma. So we'll come back to that pastime later. So then Ambika, Amba, Ambalika, and Ambika. Ambika and Ambalika, they get married to Vichitravirya. but then Vichitravirya dies even before having children. So now the Kuru dynasty do not have anyone to rule the kingdom. There was no children, and Bhishma, based on his vow, is not willing to take up the kingdom. So then that's when they were kind of lamenting what to do, how the Kuru dynasty will continue from now onwards. Then Satyavati comes and tells Bhishma, I have to confide something. I have to tell you something. Then Bhishmadev asks, what is that? Then she narrates thing what happened in the past. So Satyavati, in her previous name was Matsagandhi. She's daughter of a fisherman. So her service was to take people from one shore to another shore of the river. So, and she was taking the people from one shore to another shore. It happened once that the great sage Parashara Muni, he was in the boat. He was in the boat traveling from one shore to another shore. Satyavati was Matsagandhi was taking him from one side to another side. And as you all know, Parashara Muni is it's a very, very great personality, great sage. He gave the definition for Bhagavan. Who is Bhagavan? So Bhagavan is the one who has 6 opulences in full. He describes, he gives the definition of Bhagavan, who has 6 opulences. What are those? Strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. These are the 6 opulences of Bhagavan. Whoever possesses those in full, unlimited, that is Bhagavan. That's the definition given by the great sage Parashara Muni. So the same personality was in the boat. Then there was an auspicious time at that moment, based on certain horoscope and auspicious moment and time. Parashara Muni says that there is one great personality who has to take birth right now in this moment. In this moment, there is a great personality, supreme personality of Godhead himself. He has to take his appearance at this auspicious moment. And then he asks Satyavati, can you conceive that baby? And can we have that? So then Satyavati says, I am a young girl. How can I do that? I lose my virginity if I have a baby right now and I'm not married. How can I live in this society with these things? And then Parashara Muni, because the time is running out and that was the auspicious moment. And then Parashara Muni says, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about your virginity. You will not lose your virginity. And also the baby, whoever is born, immediately they'll grow up and they'll live. So that was the condition. That was the thing Parashara Muni says, and also says that Matsagandhi, because of her job, she's always she gives very bad odor, smell from her body, and if you do this service, then your body will become beautiful and with nice fragrance. You will not have this bad fragrance from your body. So Satyavati accepts this proposal from Parashara Muni, and because of the power of Parashara Muni. Then Vyasadeva appears from Satyavati. So as soon as Vyasadeva appears, he pays obeisances to Parashara Muni and Satyavati, and then Vyasadeva immediately goes into the forest. And he says, before leaving, Vyasadeva says that whenever you remember me, whenever you think of me, I will present in front of you. I will come to you, and if there is any service, I can do the service for you. That's what Vyasadeva tells Satyavati, and then Parashara Muni also leaves, and Vyasadeva leaves into forest right at that point. So then Satyavati tells this to Bhishma, and then they say that okay, then through Vyasadeva can we have somebody who can be the king of Kuru dynasty, who can take care of the Kuru dynasty. Then when Satyavati thinks about Vyasadeva, then Vyasadeva immediately appears to do this service. So when he goes to, Vyasadeva was, under the water, he was doing meditation, in the forest. So, and Ambika and Ambarika, they were expecting, some very handsome, beautiful person to appear. Of course, Vyasadeva is a very, very handsome personality, but he was in the forest, with the matted hair, he was doing all these austerities. So when Ambika sees Vyasadeva, immediately she closes her eyes. Because she closed her eyes when she saw Vyasadeva, then Dhritarashtra was born blind, a blind child born to Dhritarashtra, born to Ambika. So that was Dhritarashtra, a blind child was born to Ambika. And then when Ambalika sees Vyasadeva, immediately she becomes pale by looking at the appearance of Vyasadeva. So Panduraj was born to Ambalika, who was pale and also who had short life. Ambalika. So that was Panduraj. And then Vasudeva asked, where is the third queen? And then they send maid servant because Amba was not there. Amba left already. So then they send a maid servant. But the maid servant, she does so much service to Vyasadeva with so much reverence and respect. And Vyasadeva was very, very pleased, and he benedicts this maid servant. He says that whoever is born to you, he is going to be a wonderful scholar and a great devotee. So, and Vidura was born through the maid servant. So Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura were born. And the 100 Kauravas, 100 sons were born to Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Those are called Kauravas. And Panduraju marries Kunti and Madri. 5 sons were born to them. Those are called Pandavas. So this is the brief history of the Bhishmadev and the Pandavas and Kauravas. Okay. So Bhishmadev not only served his father, but he served his Chitrangada and Vichitravira at that level, and also he served his grandsons also. Throughout his life, Bhishmadev exemplified the service attitude and the faith. Okay. So what are the 3 remarkable vows that Bhishmadev took? Because these are very, very important vows. And those are the 3 vows that got, because of those vows, Bhishmadev got into trouble because of these 3 vows. So let's see what are the 3 remarkable vows. So one is that, he said he will not rule the kingdom. That was the first vow he took. And the second vow he took is he will not marry and have any children, and also maintain celibacy entire his life. And the third one, he said he will defend and be loyal to the king, Kuru ruler. Whoever is the Kuru ruler, he will be loyal to them and he will defend them. And he would always protect whoever is on the Kuru's throne, Kuru dynasty's throne. So those are the 3 vows he took. So, but then what is the trouble that Bhishma got into because of these vows? Especially because of the second vow, he said he will not marry and he will maintain the celibacy. When Amba comes back to him from Shalva, he could not accept her, because there is a conflict between the 2 dharmas at that point, because he got Amba in the first place, but then because he touched, Shalva could not take her back. Now Bhishma couldn't take her and marry her because of his vow. So he was it was a conflict for him what to do. But then he decided to stick to his principle and his vow that he will not marry Amba. At that time, Amba went and approached Parshuram, his spiritual master, his guru, Parshuram, and she took shelter of Parshuram. And Parshuram says, yeah, that's fine, no problem. He's my disciple, so I can convince Bhishmadev. And he calls Bhishmadev, and he tells Bhishmadev, you are the one who brought Amba, so you should marry Amba. And then Bhishmadev tells, Bhishmadev humbly tells Parshuram, I have taken this vow, so I cannot marry Amba because of this vow. I took a vow, so I cannot marry Amba. So then Parshuram says, if that is the case, you have to fight with me. So then they both, Parshuram and Bhishma, they fought. They had a furious fight for 23 days. 23 days they fought. And both are like equally competent. It's like sometimes Parshuram was winning, sometimes Bhishma was winning, but both were very, very powerful warriors, and nobody was able to defeat the other person. So this was going on for 23 days, and finally when Bhishmadev wanted to use Pashupatastra, which was very, very powerful astra, he wanted to use that the next day, to defeat Parshuram. That's when Indra and other demigods, and Narada Muni, they come and tell Bhishmadev, not to use that. It's not appropriate to use such astras on one's guru. So then that's when Bhishmadev, gets pacified and says, okay, I will not use that. Then they go and talk to Parshuram also. Then Parshuram says, we cannot stop this war until Bhishmadev leaves this place. He touches my feet and leaves the place. We cannot stop this. So then Bhishmadev finally, he goes and touches the feet of Parshuram, and then he leaves that place. then then he goes, Parshuram goes and tells Amba, sorry, I cannot do anything. I tried, but I cannot do anything about this. So then Amba goes and he does a great tapasya, austerity, and then he meditates upon Lord Shiva. Then finally Lord Shiva appears, and then he gives her boon that Amba will become a cause for death of Bhishmadev. That's the boon she gets, and Amba immediately enters into the fire after getting the boon, and then she, in her next life, she borns as Shikandi to Drupada Maharaj. So Drupada Maharaj, she borns as Shikandi. There is a long story, how she becomes a male, though she is a female, as born female, then how she becomes Shikandi, a male. There is a great description in Mahabharata, so we don't have time right now. So, but then then she becomes Shikandi. Amba becomes Shikandi. Eventually, she becomes the cause for Bhishma's death, departure. So that was Amba. He got into trouble. Bhishmadev got into trouble because of that vow. So that was one thing. And the second conflict that he got into because of his vow is he said he will not rule the kingdom. And at some point, Vichitra Virya and Chitrangada left, before the marriage itself. And Vichitra Virya, they both were not very, very competent kings. They were not powerful. They were not at all competent and strong. But still, Bhishmadev had to faithfully serve those who were less competent than him, less qualified to be kings of Kuru dynasty. He still had to serve them. That was the second conflict that he got because of his vow. And the third one is the one which because of which he got into greater trouble. That is because he said he will defend and be loyal to the Kuru rulers. Whoever is the Kuru ruler, he will support them or he will defend them. So that's what that was the third vow. And this was the bigger vow and greater vow that because of that Bhishma got into trouble. Because because of that vow, he was not able to take side of Pandavas. And Bhishmadev, right from when the Pandavas are small children, Bhishmadev liked Pandavas very much. Heart of hearts, in the core of his hearts, Pandavas were very, very dear to Bhishmadev. He was the one who told them about Lord Krishna, and he was the one who told them about worshipping Krishna, Lord Krishna, and everything. So. But then he could not tolerate the atrocities caused by Duryodhana and the Kauravas, but still he could not do anything because he took a vow that he will be loyal to the Kuru dynasty and he will not leave them. And at that time when he took the vow, he did not think of a situation where evil and envious person and evil-minded person like Duryodhana would occupy the power, and he will force a war against virtuous Pandavas. He did not think about that. But at the same time, now his conflict with the third vow was that the conflict between Dharma and Bhakti. So in the first two vows, his conflict was between two dharmas. So he took a vow that is one dharma as a Kshatriya. He has to maintain that honor, of maintaining that vow. And at the same time, the conflict of not marrying Amba and then not ruling the kingdom, at least that the conflict was between two dharmas, the first two vows. But the last vow, the conflict is between the dharma of maintaining his vow and because he had to fight against Krishna, Lord Krishna himself. He knows that Lord Krishna is with Pandavas, but still he took the side of Kauravas because of his vow, third vow. So that was the biggest trouble because of this, the last vow. Okay. And that was the history of Bhishmadev. And Bhishmadev, throughout his life, he has seen so many things, and he like Kunti Devi, he also suffered. He could not tolerate, he could not see the sufferings of Pandavas. The Kauravas tried to kill them when they were children. So they did many atrocities against Pandavas. But then Bhishmadev saw all these things with so much pain in his heart, but at the same time he could not do anything to Pandavas. So we will take, since we are short of time, it's about 12:18, so we have only another 12 minutes or so. We will take some pastime from Mahabharat, Kurukshetra war, where so the Mahabharata war, you all know why the Mahabharata war started, and then Mahabharata war started, and Lord Krishna himself, tried to went as a peace messenger to Hastinapur, and he tried to convince Kauravas not to have this war and give kingdom to share the kingdom with Pandavas. At the time, Kauravas, the evil-minded Duryodhana and Dushasana, they even wanted to try to bind Krishna, So, but they were completely unsuccessful, as we can expect. So see this, Kauravas also tried to bind Krishna, captivate Krishna, and with so much power and so much kingdom and so much opulence that they have, they tried to bind Krishna. But whereas Mother Yashoda, being a simple cowherd lady, she was able to bind Krishna with simple small rope. That is due to her devotion. So here they tried to captivate Krishna, but which did not happen. At that time, Bhishma was furious. The thoughts of Duryodhana and Dushasana, he was extremely furious, and he tried to convince them, but they wouldn't listen. Duryodhana and Dushasana, they wouldn't listen to Bhishma at all. Then at some point, Bhishma wanted to withdraw his vow. At some point, he says he wanted to leave the kingdom and go to forest. That was the thought Bhishma gets at some point by looking at the activities of Duryodhana, evil activities of Duryodhana and Kauravas. But then he sticks to his vow, and we will see why he does that at the end of this presentation. So then the war is going on, Mahabharata war is going on, and when Duryodhana approaches Bhishma about the war, Bhishma puts three conditions. So okay, these are my three conditions. If I want to be in the war, if I want to participate in this fight, then Duryodhana says, okay, what are those three conditions? So Bhishma says, I can kill thousands of people in the Mahabharata war, in the Kurukshetra war, but I will not cause any harm to Pandavas. That was the first condition. And the second condition he puts is that if there is a Shikandi present in front of me, then I will do Shastra Sanyas. That means I will leave my Shastras and I will not fight. That was the second condition. And the third condition he says is there are so many Maharathis and Atirathis in our army, and Karna, in my opinion, Karna is not even a half Rathi, not even a half Rathi. I will not fight if Karna is there. That's what Bhishmadev says. And and of course Duryodhana knows the power of Bhishmadev, and he's completely convinced. He knows that nobody can conquer Bhishmadev. He knows the power, and he says that's fine. He's okay with those three conditions. He accepts those three conditions. So then the war is going on, and then after a few days, Duryodhana goes to Bhishma's camp, and he says, because of your affection towards Pandavas, you are not fighting properly. You are not showing your power. You are not showing you are not fighting, with all your might. So then he incites Bhishmadev with his words. Then Bhishmadev immediately says that, if you are thinking like that, don't ever think like that. I am loyal to Kuru dynasty. But since you are thinking like that, tomorrow is the last day for Pandavas. So these are the 5 arrows I'm keeping for that. And these are the 5 arrows for 5 Pandavas. Tomorrow they are going to be finished. So then Duryodhana gets convinced with that statement, and still he had a doubt. I don't want to keep these 5 arrows with you. I will take these 5 arrows and keep it with myself. Bhishmadev says, well, that's fine. You can keep these 5 arrows. So the same night, obviously Krishna understands. Krishna being Paramatma in everybody's heart, he knows what's going on, and then he sends Arjuna to Duryodhana's camp to get those 5 arrows. So Arjuna goes and he asks. He goes to the camp of Duryodhana after the evening. In the evening, after that war is over, the daily this thing is over, fight is over, and then Duryodhana invites Arjuna And he asks, you are my guest, so you ask me whatever you want, I will give you. And then Arjuna immediately asks, I want those 5 arrows. So then, Duryodhana, he gave the word that, he will give whatever Arjuna wanted. So then he gives the 5 arrows. Then he was thinking, how did Arjuna know about these 5 arrows? So nobody's supposed to know except myself and Bhishma. And how did Arjuna came to know this? Then Bhishma says, you don't understand. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He knows everything what is going on. So Krishna is the one who sent Arjuna to take these 5 arrows from you. So that was the first time, Duryodhana at least thinks in his mind that, yeah, maybe Krishna is supreme personality of God. He thinks that it comes into his mind at that time. But still, he was so much attached to the kingdom, he doesn't want to give anything. He doesn't want to surrender to Pandavas and Krishna. So then Bhishma says, that's fine, no worries, the 5 arrows are gone, but still tomorrow I will fight in such a way that I am taking a vow right now. Tomorrow I will fight in such a way that, either Arjuna has to die or Krishna has to pick up a weapon, break his vow of not taking any weapons, and he has to pick up a weapon. That's the vow Bhishmadev takes that night. So the next day, the fight starts between the Pandavas and Kauravas, and then Bhishmadev was very, very, how do you say? He was fighting with Arjuna. He was shooting the arrows left and right, and Arjuna was not able to handle the power of Bhishmadev on that day. So he was at one point he was like almost. And the arrows that are coming from Bhishmadev, some of the arrows were shooting Krishna also, and the blood was coming from Krishna's body. And Acharyas explained that, these are the arrows, even though externally it appears that blood, and these are the arrows piercing Krishna's body. For Krishna, they are like flowers offered by his pure devotees. So Bhishmadev was exhibiting, the chivalry, the mellow of chivalry, Virya Ras. He was giving pleasure to Lord Krishna in that mood. So he was fighting with that chivalrous mood, and almost, Bhishma was about to kill Arjuna. So in the last moment, then Krishna really gets angry. His eyes become red. He was extremely furious by the act of Bhishma, because Bhishma was trying to kill Arjuna with his arrows. Then immediately he jumps down from the chariot, and he rushes towards Bhishma. He picks up the wheel, cart wheel right from there, and immediately he rushes towards Bhishma. Whenever Krishna takes out his Sudarshan Chakra, he doesn't have to go anywhere. He stands in one place. He just sends the Sudarshan Chakra, to his enemies or whoever he wants to punish. But in this case, he was so, he wanted to protect Arjuna, and he picks up the wheel, the cart wheel, the chariot wheel, and his upavastra, the upper cloth, even not there on Krishna's body. This picture shows differently, but he leaves that upper cloth, and then he charges towards Bhishma to kill Bhishma with that wheel. So when he approaches, as soon as Krishna approaches Bhishma, immediately Bhishma puts down his shastras, and then he gets down and pays obeisances to Krishna and says, yeah, what else, what better can happen? So please kill me while, there is nothing auspicious. There is nothing more auspicious than this, being killed by you, Krishna. So, and then he surrenders to Krishna. He offers prayers. Bhishmadev offers prayers to Krishna and says that, this is the most auspicious time you can kill me. What else I can expect? What else I can ask? Then that's when, all the conches blow for the end of the day. And for that day, every day evening, according to Kshatriya codes, war codes, the evening, as soon as the sunset happens, so then the war has to stop. No more fighting. So that's how the day ends on that day. That particular day. So it was very, very intense day for Arjuna and Bhishmadev and Krishna. So that was the pastime that happened, and then eventually they all understand. Pandavas also know that it is impossible to defeat Bhishmadev. They know that it's impossible to defeat Bhishmadev. But then Krishna tells them, why don't you go and ask Bhishmadev how he can be defeated? So when they go and approach Bhishmadev, they ask Bhishmadev, tell me how I can kill you, how we can kill you. Can you imagine somebody coming and asking, how one can, kill you? They are directly asking Bhishmadev to to get the permission from him, and to know how he can be killed. So then Bhishmadev tells the secret that if you can bring Shikandi, when Shikandi is there, I will not fight. I will leave my Shastra. So next day, they bring Shikandi, who is none other than Amba in her previous life. Then when Amba was there, when Shikandi was there on the chariot of Arjuna, then Bhishma leaves, drops his Shastras, everything. That's when Arjuna shoots arrows onto Bhishmadev right behind from Shikandi. So that was and these are the arrows from Arjuna. Arjuna means the body just doesn't touch Bhishma. They pierce through the body of Bhishma. So from front to all the way back. So then his body doesn't even touch the ground because of those arrows pierced from Arjuna's. So that's how finally Bhishma collapses. So he comes onto the ground. And there are so many arrows on Bhishma's body by Arjuna. It is explained that it is described that there is people cannot even put a finger, the width of a finger in between any two arrows. That many arrows were shot to Bhishma's body. So then because the arrows were from front to the back, pierced through all the way to the back. So it was like a bed. So his body was not touching the ground. So Bhishma was laying on the arrow of bed of arrows. So, and Bhishma got a boon when he took these 3 vows. His father gives him a boon that Bhishma can choose to live whenever he wants. He can depart. He can choose his death whenever he wants to live. He can choose that time and day and time. So Bhishmadev did not want to leave his body at that time. So he was waiting for the right opportunity to leave. That is called Uttaraya. So anyway, but he also wanted to meet Pandavas and Krishna. So that is his inner heart was telling. So that happens. That was the end of Bhishma's Kurukshetra war. So then the entire war. It's about 12:30. I hope you guys don't mind if I take another 10 minutes or so. I think we are pretty much almost done with this Bhishma's departure. Then we will end here. So Srila Chaitanya Prabhu, I hope it's okay if I take another 10 minutes or so.
Yes, Prabhu.
Important part of the presentation. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So departure of Srila Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev is his departure was very, very glorious. After the entire Kurukshetra war was done, finally Yudhishthira Maharaj became the king, the emperor of the entire world. He became the emperor, and but then Yudhishthira Maharaj was so depressed because he was feeling guilty that because of him, this war happened because of him. Millions of people died because of him, and millions of women became widows. The children became homeless, and all these things happened. There was so much bloodshed because of Yudhishthira. He was feeling like that, even though he was not responsible. As a soft-hearted, compassionate Vaishnava, he was feeling guilty and he was feeling depressed. So that's when Krishna takes this opportunity to glorify his devotee Bhishma, his pure devotee Bhishma, and he says that why don't we go to Kurukshetra, and see your grandfather Bhishma. So Krishna understands the heart of Bhishma. That's why all the Kauravas, all the Pandavas, they dress in a best possible royal suit, and they go in a beautiful golden chariots. They go in best of their appearances. They're very opulent royal suits. They go to Kurukshetra. Even Krishna goes along with Pandavas to see Bhishmadev. So not only Pandavas and Krishna goes there, but all the demigods, various demigods, rishis, munis, Narada Muni, Sukadev Maharshi, Vyasadev, Vasishta Muni, so all these great personalities and munis, they all come to see Bhishmadev, to honor him, to give respect to their respect to his great personality. Everybody was present. in his last duration, last days of Bhishmadev. That is the personality of Bhishmadev. That is the greatness of Bhishmadev. One can learn from Bhishmadev how one has to departure from this world. So that can be learned from the glorious departure of Bhishmadev. So then Bhishmadev saw, Pandavas in their royal suits. He felt very, very happy. He welcomed all of them. And even, the Pandavas paid obeisances to Bhishmadev. Not only Pandavas, even Lord Krishna also paid obeisances to Bhishmadev. Why did Lord Krishna has to pay obeisances to Bhishmadev? Because Bhishma is a very, very respectable person. Out of etiquette, to teach etiquette for others, even though he's a supreme personality of Godhead, he's a Virat. Just to teach others, the etiquette of respecting the elderly Vaishnavas. So he offered respects to Bhishmadev. He paid obeisances to Bhishmadev, and also Krishna takes pleasure in worshipping his devotees. That's another thing why he paid obeisances to the Bhishmadev. So then Bhishmadev understands the heart of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Krishna himself could have given this philosophy to Yudhishthira Maharaj. When Yudhishthira Maharaj was lamenting and going through this pain, Krishna could have given the philosophy, all the philosophy to Yudhishthira Maharaj, but he wanted to give glory to Bhishmadev. And he wanted Yudhishthira Maharaj to hear this philosophy, the ultimate philosophy of perfection from Bhishmadev. So that's the reason he took all the Pandavas to Bhishmadev. And also he knows that Bhishmadev will feel very, very happy by seeing Pandavas in these royal suits, because that is the innermost desire of Bhishmadev. Right from the beginning, he has the innermost desire that Pandavas should be the kings of Kuru dynasty, because he knows those are very, very virtuous and pious kings. So that's the reason he felt very, very happy by understanding and by seeing that Pandavas won the war. And of course he knew, because Krishna was on their side, and he knew that Pandavas are going to win ultimately. So and then he explained. He tells Pandavas that even though Krishna is your relative, he came here as your relative, or but a cousin. He is none other than the supreme personality of Godhead. He spoke about Krishna. He spoke the glories of Lord Krishna to everybody present there. And also then Dhritarashtra asks several other questions about the duty of Varnashrama Dharma and different principles of religion. So Bhishmadev on that deathbed, just imagine if we have a small prick or something, some sharp object pokes us, we feel so much pain. But Bhishmadev was on these arrows, so many arrows. As I said, even a finger cannot go in between two arrows. That many arrows were piercing through the Bhishma's body. But even during that time, he gave the entire philosophy, how to attain perfection in one's life. So he gave that entire philosophy, during that time to Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the Pandavas. So this glorious departure of Bhishmadev is described very, very beautifully in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 9th chapter. Please read if you get a chance. It should not take much time. There are only like 43 verses, total 43 or 44 verses. And especially, not only the verses, translation, but Srila Prabhupada, the purports are really beautiful, amazing. They'll explain the philosophy very, very nicely. So I would request everybody to at least go through once, the Bhishma Stuti, and also the entire chapter, Canto 1 and chapter 9. So then finally, he gets the indication that the sun is moving the direction to Uttarayan, which is very, very auspicious to leave the body. Then he focuses, he completely absorbs his mind and vision on the beautiful form of Sri Krishna right there, and then he leaves the body. Srila Bhishmadev ki jai. So that's when he leaves the body. So now the question is, based on his activities, why do we think, why do we consider Bhishmadev as Mahajan? Because he did not protect He did not protect Draupadi in the assembly when Dushasana and Kauravas were disrobing Draupadi. He could not protect her. He could not protect Amba when she came for marriage, and he could not, he could not protect Pandavas when they were going through so much struggles in their life. And when Kauravas were trying to kill Pandavas, he could not stop them. On top of that, he took side of Kauravas, which is on the adharma side. Why he did all these things, and why do we still consider Bhishmadev as Mahajan? Krishna says Bhishmadev is a pure devotee. So that is because Bhishmadev, out of his service attitude, in the spirit of service to Lord Krishna, he took side of Kauravas. From external perspective, he appears to be Niyamagraha. Niyamagraha means, those who want to follow the rules just for the sake of following the rules. It's like whatever is mentioned in the paper, that's what it is. They don't want to budge here and there, whatever be the situation, they don't want to budge. They just want to follow. Hook or crook, they just want to follow that, whatever is mentioned in the rule. So from external perspective, it appears that Bhishmadev is following his vows. Because he took a vow, he just followed it. Because he wanted to teach, from one perspective, he wanted to teach the people about the loyalty. Because he wanted to be loyal to the Kuru dynasty, because he took a vow. And also, he wanted to teach other people how to be loyal to the king. That is one aspect which is learned from external perspective. But core of his heart, he wanted to serve Krishna. He wanted to be the instrument in Krishna's plan. In this entire Mahabharata and Kurukshetra war, he wanted to be an instrument. He totally understands, he knows that, for the rest of the eternity, he will be humiliated, he will be misunderstood, he will be criticized for the rest of the eternity, by all the people to come. But still, he did not care about anything. He did not care about his own image. His only mood was to serve Krishna and to please Krishna. This was the very, very, the most difficult service one can do. By knowing all these things, he still stood on the side of the Kauravas, and he gave pleasure to Krishna. And he could not protect Draupadi, because, again, from the internal reason, Acharyas explained that he wanted to tell Draupadi that, only Krishna can protect. There may be anybody here, but only Krishna can be the protector. Krishna is the only protector. He wanted to give that knowledge also to, he wanted to demonstrate that through that act during that Draupadi's disrobing also, right? And also, Krishna wanted to teach the entire world that, however powerful one may be, they will be conquered if they are not on the side of Dharma. One may be extremely powerful, they may have all the power in the world, but they will be conquered if they are not on the side of Dharma. And Krishna wanted to teach this lesson to the entire world. When Krishna wanted to teach something to the world, he wanted to pick a very, very powerful person. He doesn't want to take a ordinary person as example. Then people will not take it seriously. That's why he picked Bhishma. He wanted to pick Bhishma as an example, for this. And Bhishma gladly accepted, even though it was, he went through so much suffering, but then he accepted this as a service to Krishna. It is very, very, for us, it is, if whatever we do, we just want to take credit. If there is a misunderstanding, if somebody tells something to us, we feel really bad and we try to defend ourselves. I did this because of this, I did this because of that. Even it is our mistake, it's very hard for us to accept it. But Bhishma, just understand the greatness of Bhishma. He was willing to be humiliated, misunderstood and criticized, just for the sake of Krishna, just to give pleasure to Krishna. And also, another indication that, Bhishma is a great devotee. Krishna himself was present when Bhishma left. So, Antakale cha mameva swaram muktva kalevaram. Krishna says that whoever remembers me at the time of death, they will come to me. And here Krishna himself personally present in his beautiful form in front of Bhishmadev when Bhishmadev left. So that is the devotion of Bhishma. So Krishna understands Bhishma's inner core heart, and he knows his devotion. So that's why Bhishma left by complete absorption in Krishna. Okay, so that's our one of the Mahajans' glorious pastime of Bhishmadev and his glorious departure. Srila Bhishmadev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you all so much for your kind attention and patience. So, if you have any questions or comments,
Thank you, Ram Tirtha Prabhu, for an excellent class. And it was really inspiring to know more details about Bhishmadev. And Rukmani Mataji has a question. So, Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for that wonderful class and about such a great personality. So I've had a question for a long time, maybe I was hoping you could answer. So this Uttarayan, I'm trying to understand what it is. As far as I understood, it is when the days, instead of growing shorter, they start growing longer, which is on the winter solstice, December 21st. And as we know, Gita Jayanti is coming up, and it's usually very close to that day. And then the war goes on for 18 days after that. So then, but then after this war is over, then Bhishmadev spends so long on the bed of arrows that he gives this whole discourse, which is more longer than all of the rest of the Mahabharata put together. So when is this Uttarayan?
So that's a actually I knew that somebody is going to ask this question because I myself had this question. And I did not have time, or I could not ask some seniors to get some clarification on this. Even I was confused because Kartik ended 1 week ago, and last 5 days of Kartik is known as Bhishma Panchak. But then we know, as you said, the especially this year, Bhagavad Gita appearance is on 25th, and then after that, war ended after 10 days after that, almost like 7 days or 8 days after that. And then during Makara, that is about Sankranti, that's a time frame in January sometime. At least technically, it appears that Bhishma should, left body during that time in January, around January time frame. But honestly, I don't know the answer, Rukmini Prabhu, for that. I will also try to do some research and get some answers from one of the seniors from that. But if anybody in the the group audience, if they know the answer, please, they are welcome to share that information for all of us.
Yeah, I had a similar question too, but based on my understanding, there's the only explanation came close was that now the time after 5,000 years, 5,000 years before, things have changed. So which comes what first, we don't know. So when that happened, the sequence was that yes, Bhagavad Gita spoken and somewhere in the December, and then he left in the month of January. It's actually Sankranti time. But Bhishma Panchak now, it is coming 2 months before that, 1 month before, maybe that happens after that. That is the only thing, because the constellation, the Adhikamas, things have changed over the period of time. Days, 5,000 years before. That was the closest things which I came across, because I had the similar question too.
Ram Tirtha Prabhu, I have one thing to ask.
Yes, Prem Sundar Prabhu.
So Bhishma Panchak is not the time when Bhishma left his body on the, that is how it is described, but I don't think that is correct. Right?
Yeah, that's how it was described, when Bhishma Panchak came. This time I also did some research, to find out what exactly is Bhishma Panchak, because we know that last 5 days is Bhishma Panchak. So immediately I went and Googled, what is this Bhishma Panchak?
But that is not the time when he left this world. That Bhishma Panchak is not the time when he left this. That is how people think, but
Right.
it doesn't match, like according to the calendar. The other thing I was thinking is, he had this benediction of when Shantanu Maharaj had blessed him, because he had facilitated his marriage to Satyavati.
Mm-hmm.
So Shantanu Maharaj blessed Bhishmadev that he could die only when he liked to. So then why was he waiting for, so many days? Sometimes it is said he's waiting till the sun goes in the right, direction. Then, because for the yogi, for the devotee, it doesn't matter whenever they leave. So why is that given importance, that the sun is, you were mentioning that, right? The sun.
Yeah.
So why is that considered for a devotee? It doesn't matter. Prabhupada writes like that. That because he's Krishna conscious, he can die anytime. He had the Ichamriti. Of course, he was waiting for Pandavas to come, dressed in royal attire. He wanted to see them crowned as the king. But this part I didn't understand. Is there any reason why he was waiting for the sun to be in a particular?
I also don't know, Prabhu. The only thing I heard was what you said. He was waiting for Pandavas to take up the kingdom, and then he wanted to see them. That was the desire. That's the reason he was waiting for that. That is the only thing I know why he was waiting. But as you said, devotees can anytime they are pure devotees, they can leave anytime. Is there? They don't have to wait for certain auspicious time.
So is that a reason given that he was waiting for the sun to be in a particular?
Yeah. It is mentioned in ninth chapter also. I read ninth chapter yesterday. I was going through that. He get the indication that sun is moving into the direction, and then that's when he wanted to leave. Just that's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada mentioned that actually. But Prabhupada did not mention specifically why he had to wait for that moment. That is not mentioned based on what I read.
So philosophically, there is no right answer for this. But from a tattva perspective, is that he's a person, he has a preference. Why somebody like mango? Why somebody likes two certain things? Like why Krishna wears?
That is different. Here, what I'm asking is, he's waiting for an auspicious moment for
Yeah, that's what I was explaining. Why does Krishna likes a peacock flower? It's a personal choice. It's the same thing here. Mahabharata actually is in the dharma perspective. Bhagavad is a bhakti perspective. So Mahabharata war is actually setting example as a kshatriya, this and that, so many things. So in that perspective, as a yogi, he has his own preference that when Uttarayan, Dakshinayan, the constellation happened, that is a perfect time where he felt he wanted to ascend to the higher planetary system. That's the reason he hold his breath. Even after speaking Vishnu Sahasranam, giving all this knowledge, he did not leave right after. Pandavas left, he lived alone for a few more days. He waited for that moment, and then eventually on that particular day, he left. But there was no right answer for this. Only from the tattva perspective, we can understand, yes, that is his preference. That's what it chose to be.
Yeah, and actually, according to Bhagavatam also, Bhagavatam says that Bhagavatam did not say, but as you said, the Bhagavatam, one of the things I was, listening to a lecture, and it's beautifully mentioned, when people think about, why bad things happen to good people, the Bhagavatam does not describe, or Bhagavatam does not focus on why bad things happen to good people. It focuses on how or what the devotees do when certain things happen to the devotees, what is their mood, how they should take it. That is the entire focus of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this particular case, I'm bringing this up because, Srila Bhishmadev, what was his mood and how he handled certain things. Of course, the example of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, they went through so many things. There are so many examples in Bhagavatam. But what was their mood when certain things are happening? That was the focus.
This question was asked actually. This question asked. I remember this particular thing. Why? So because Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, these three. So if you want to read an author intention, you have to find out what is his intention. So there are actually three different dimensions. The purpose was different. The Bhagavatam, the person who was dying, has nothing else. He left everything. The only concentration is how to live peacefully in devotion. That was the Bhagavatam. While living till death comes, Mahabharata, how to live dharmically. That's Mahabharata. Then while living, how to lead, which is like as a father, as a mother, as a guru, as a king, as a Brahmin. So that was set by Ramayana, how to lead. These things. Ramayana, the purpose is how to lead. Mahabharata, how to live. Bhagavatam, how to live. So we should not be confused, those three. So this is what one Acharya explained. I heard this.
Prabhu, you were saying, why do bad things happen to good people? There is also reasons we have to analyze, right? I mean, for Draupadi, in her past life, it is mentioned that she did not obey the Adhik Mas, when Durvasa Muni said, and that's why she had to go through this kind of, So there is always a reason. Also, one has to learn from that. If something bad is happening, what is the reason? Like Saubhari Muni, for instance, he fell down because he had cursed Garudam in his. So there is always a connection between. So I didn't understand what you were trying to say. That why do
No,
bad?
no, the focus of Bhagavatam is bhakti. That's what I was trying to mention, because the focus, like Naveen Krishna Prabhu was also mentioning, the focus of Mahabharat and the focus of Bhagavatam is different. Bhagavatam does not discuss about the philosophical aspect of why that happened. Bhagavatam focus is when devotees go through, when the devotees are put into the struggles like this, sufferings like this, what is their mood, how one can tolerate those kinds of things, and how
No,
one
but we have in the many instances in the Bhagavatam where devotees do some wrong thing, and that is why they get the reaction, and then it is very evident that
yeah. No, that's, I'm not saying that the main focus, bro. The
that
main focus of Bhagavatam is not that. Yes, of course, Bhagavatam has a lot of information, but the Bhagavatam, the focus is how one can develop bhakti, how one can have unalloyed devotion to Krishna, how one can absorb in Krishna consciousness, how one can tolerate these inconveniences and sufferings one goes through. Everybody has to go through their sufferings,
and
whoever.
what caused those inconveniences. That is also you learn from the lessons in the past that happened that
Yeah,
caused
yeah,
those inconveniences. So
right. I'm not denying that. Yeah, I'm not denying that.
another thing I was thinking from Bhishma's pastime is that if your vow comes in the way of serving Krishna, then one should give up that vow. That is a lesson. One learn that lesson also from that. If you're attached to something, but if it is against the principle of serving Krishna, then it will cause you suffering, and
Yes.
one should give up that vow, because if
Yeah.
it comes in the way of your service to Krishna.
True. That aspect is also true. If the vow is coming in between you and the service of Krishna as a pure service to Krishna, then the vow doesn't make any sense. So in this particular case, Krishna gave an internal indication to Bhishma to act in that way as a service to him. He said, Krishna told Bhishma, Krishna gave an indication to Bhishma, you act like this for me. You do this for me. You be on the other side of Pandavas. You be on the side of Adharma, and then you fight with me.
In one purport, Prabhupada also says because they were silent when Draupadi was being disrobed,
Mm-hmm.
that's why all the Kuru dynasty had to be finished. Because when a pure devotee is being insulted, and Bhishma was silent, he didn't say anything.
Bhishma was not silent.
No, I mean he didn't do anything to protect her.
No, he tried. Bhishma tried.
Yeah, but he was bound by his vow. He was bound by his vow to the king, so he could not do anything. So in one purport, Prabhupada writes also that, because when a pure devotee is being insulted, and if, you don't take any measures or anything to correct it, that was also one reason why this whole Kuru dynasty was finished.
Yeah, there were multiple angles, from multiple lessons from pastimes of Mahabharata. There is so much to learn, Prem Chandra Prabhu. Prabhu, I think Ram Mohan Prabhu has a question. Without touching this discussion, let's see what Ram Mohan Prabhu has to say. Prabhuji, please go ahead. Ram Mohan Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prem Chandra Prabhu. Sorry, we can take it offline because somebody else has a question.
Yeah.
Ram Mohan Prabhu, please go ahead. Please unmute yourself and ask. Is he there or did he leave? Looks like he left, Shadbhuj Prabhu.
Oh, I think he left.
Yeah, looks like he left.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Any other final comments or reflections anyone has? Mataji, you are on mute. Yeah.
But Bhishmadev, is really nice to hear that. Sorry, my house construction going on is looking very nice. Don't see my house, therefore of the video.
That's okay.
So you didn't mention about anything about Bhishma Panchak, Prabhuji. Why are you doing this, and why is it's so powerful? Because in my Maharaj told that if you can spread everywhere. Bhishma Panchak is not a hard thing. There's 3 level of fasting. First one is who like rice and dal. they can also do first. Second is fruits and roots, and third is very tough one, this Panchadavya. You didn't mention anything about that. Could you mention anything?
Yeah, actually, Bhishma, I did not elaborate on Bhishma Panchak because the Kartik already ended and Bhishma
Yeah.
Panchak already is over. That's the reason I did not want to put a lot of emphasis on the austerities that are maintained during those 5 days. Because we can discuss this again next year in the Kartik.
Yes.
That's it. I did not want to pay a lot of attention to that aspect of, because as you can see, there is so much to say about Bhishmadev. There are glories. You can talk for hours. Especially this the Shanti Parva where Bhishmadev talks to Yudhishthira Maharaj. There are 100 pages in Mahabharata. More than 100 pages he explained. The entire thing, the philosophy. So we have only 45 minutes to 1 hour. So that's the reason we could cover only so much.
Yes. And
Yeah, maybe some other day the topic can be. It's already 12:59. So I think we can end here. Should be Chaitanya Prabhu.
Thank you, Ram Tirtha. Thanks.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ram Tirtha Prabhu ki.
Jai. Hare Krishna devotees. There are quick announcements we have. And we are celebrating His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj Vyas Puja tomorrow evening from 6 p.m. onwards at Zoom. The same link. And everybody is invited, and please do join. And if you want to say a few words, please feel free to join the call in the evening tomorrow. And all the entire program will be on the evening only. So it's on the Zoom. There is no other live, in-person programs happening tomorrow. So please do join for the tomorrow programs. And also we'll have 3 hours of Kirtan on the coming Thursday on Ekadashi occasion. So it will also be on live from the Facebook. So please do join. And if you want to participate in doing Kirtan here, please contact Ramesh Prabhu and he'll coordinate on this. And the last one, and it was a very glad and very happy news to share with all of you that during the Diwali fundraising and also for the Giving Tuesday, so we raised around 100K of Lakshmi for the new temple. So which is an excellent big achievement, and which was headed by Leela Manjari Mataji and Gopi Krishna Prabhu and several other volunteers. They were doing fundraising and doing some different ways of reaching to different people, different crowds, and a different audience through different medias. And they were working for last almost, I would say, like 3-4 months, and they would have got like a very big amount for a fundraising for the new temple, which is 100K is not a small amount within just a short period of 1 week or 2 weeks. So all glories to them, and thank you for all the supporters who have donated and encouraged this effort, and really thank you for all this. And finally, we have one little disturbing news. It's a little sad, and one of our congregation member was affected with a critical health, and she's in the hospital. Her name is Gayatri Tampi Mataji, and I'll request all of you to have the prayers for her in your prayers whenever you want to have some special prayers so that she can able to recover and come back and join our congregation back. So please keep you in your prayers, and that's all I have. So anybody else have anything, Prabhu? So, thank you all for joining today, and we all meet tomorrow again for the Vyas Puja celebrations. So thank you so much. Vanchakalpatarubhya kripasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Ram Tirtha Prabhu, for your wonderful class.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for
Thank you.
encouraging.